poets we are honoring tonight, I'd like to ask you, first of all, if you are angry or are you boring? It is a great honor for me tonight to introduce Gilbert and George, not only because they are two living legends, but most importantly because they are the very first artists I ever wrote to in my life. I wrote them when they were 16, when I was 16. Their address, you can find it in the phone book, you can find them listed in the yellow pages under the word artists. So I wrote them the first time, I wrote them a letter, and of course they never responded. Then I looked up their phone number and I called them, and the first time I actually hang up because I was a little too shy. I was like a little teenager with a crush, so I heard the message, and actually the message ends with, I think it's George saying good riddance. And so when you hear that, you just hang up because you're completely terrified. Then I called them again and I left a message, and of course they never called me back. The third time I wrote them, I thought I had figured out a way to get their attention, and so I wrote them a card in which I quote one of the titles from their very early works. And the title says, "All my life I gave you nothing and still you ask for more." They never got back to me. So why am I telling you all this? First of all, so that you know that I'm a stalker. And secondly, because, very simply, when I was growing up, even before I knew that there was contemporary art, I knew that there were Gilbert and George. The visual soundtrack of the 1980s and 1990s for me and for many people my age was basically one gigantic Gilbert and George picture. Their photographs of London with their electric colors were the altarpieces and the stained glass windows in a cathedral erected to a new religion. It was a multicultural, multisexual religion in which they praised non-conformity and freedom. You know, in 1995 they published their 10 Commandments, and the first commandment says, "Thou shalt fight conformism." The second 10 Commandment says, "Thou shalt be the messenger of freedom." The third one says, "Thou shalt make use of sex," which is one of my favorite. And the fourth one says, "Thou shalt reinvent life." Since 1967, Gilbert and George have been reinventing their own life and the life of many people. They met in 1967 in London. They say it's been love at first sight since then. It was in 1971, the first time they performed in New York at Sonneman Gallery. So I think they also deserve a round of applause because now 14 years, 40 years. It was their legendary piece Underneath the Archways that they sang in 1971 and then again in 1991. And more recently to commemorate their dear friend Robert Rosenblum, who said that Gilbert and George were fused in an almost ectoplasmatic union. It's one of my favorite lines. And I'm not going to bore you by telling you all they did in their life. Among the great things they did, they crashed When Attitudes Become Form at the opening in 1969, I think, at the ICA in London, and they stole the show. They performed in front of a somehow nervous Joseph Beuys in Düsseldorf, I think it was 1970. They, most importantly, made an artwork out of getting drunk, which is something that many of you will attempt tonight in vain. I'm not going to mention their generosity, their commitment, their powerful work in support of AIDS awareness. And I think also a wonderful list of the great places where they've shown in the past. They've shown in China in '93 when nobody was showing in China. They showed in Moscow in 1990. Another wonderful list could be made with all the names of the hot waiters they hit it on from their many lunches and dinners. I probably spoke a little too much, and I should stop here before I turn this evening into the evening before the morning after, as another great title of them recites. I'm just going to read a quote by them, and then I'll leave the podium to them. It's a beautiful quote. They say, "We are unhealthy, middle-aged, dirty-minded, depressed, cynical, empty, tired brains, seedy, rotten, dreaming, badly behaved, ill-mannered, arrogant, intellectual, self-pitying, honest, successful, hard-working, thoughtful, artistic, religious, bloodthirsty, teasing, destructive, ambitious, colorful, damned, stubborn, perverted, and good. We are artists. We are only human sculpture. To be without is all we ask." So join me in welcoming Gilbert and George, leading sculptors. Good evening. Good evening.
We are very touched, moved, thrilled, and very happy to be honoured by the new museum in New York. In fact, we are so happy that we are smiling at both ends.
We have been in love with New York and its people since our first exhibition here in 1971. It's wonderful for us to be here tonight, and then before we've seen so many good-looking people.
And now New York is our favourite city. And we just have two cries for you.
Ban religion.
And decriminalise sex.
Ban religion.
And decriminalise sex. Thank you.